również na miejscu. Zinnivan, czy poradzi sobie z midlane teraz niebieska gaming, bardzo dobry timing, rozszukajtuje, ale no!
East is chaos all over the map.
Oh,
Right? X7 are ahead of the play. Goodbye, Doom.
Now Shikari's in trouble, he's gonna try and find his way out. Wait for the Shadow Surge! And the Rocky just goes wide, but a final auto secures it anyway.
Welcome to Berlin, Germany for our second day of quarterfinals here at the Amazon European Masters. Today, the last remaining hopes and dreams of not only the LLC, but also the Ultra Liga will clash as Bifrost and RGO are fighting for a spot in the semifinals. I'm Queen, and joining me tonight are Jamada and Dino, and guys, I need to say you looking very fashionable. Jamada, welcome. It's your first time in what is the Amazon European Master Studio.
It's a bit surreal, you know. You see it on screen for so long, and then you actually sit in the chair and you're here. It is very massive, and thank you. I feel particularly fresh today.
You feeling good? Dino, I mean, you look.
I'm never leaving. I love it here. I've been scouring the place. I'm a pretty big guy, so it's really tough for me to hide out. But I think I found a spot, so I'm never going.
How was your first day? Because yesterday we were here together as well. How did you feel about that?
I loved it. I loved it. I mean, the same feeling Jamada had was like you see it so many times online, and then suddenly you're here. It might have been a bit short, but I still love my stay.
Yesterday, we've seen a dominating LDLC clean sweep X7 Esports to be the first team to advance to the semifinals. And I mean, talking about short stays, this was a very short series as well.
Yeah, I think the scoreline doesn't really do it justice. As you can see here, X7 actually was the aggressor in a lot of the early games, but LDLC did such a great job. You see Yike here, you see Aika, you see those three. They were vital in catching that aggression of X7, and they did it in such a clean fashion.
I mean, they're still undefeated, Jamada. They're 9-0 right now in the tournament.
LDLC just looked like, I think, now the clear favorites. I think, you know, coming into the quarters, a lot of the conversation was around X7. Even though they didn't come in as the first seed in their group, I think people still had their names at the tip of their tongues. Now with LDLC defeating them in such a, you know, dominating fashion, I think LDLC have now hopped the queue to the first favorite for the tournament.
I mean, yeah, dominating fashion, yeah, it was a 3-0, but I gotta be honest, and I'm throwing this at you, Dino, is like game 1 and 2 are pretty close.
Yeah, that's what I meant with it might not really do it justice, the scoreline. It's just how LDLC, for some reason, you can never count them out. And then if you look domestically, it's actually not that weird to think about because they faced Vitality, BDS Academy, teams that are very aggressive in the early game. They know how to weather a storm like that and then make the plays that really matter. And that's how they actually beat X7. At certain points, they were just a little bit smarter about setting up plays and a little bit better in executing them.
And I gotta say, Jamada, every time we come into the Amazon European Masters, it's always, oh, that first seed of LFL that's gonna win it all. Now LDLC looks like super strong. Do you think they can bring it home?
I mean, I think they've got a, by rights, an easy path to the finals, right? As much as, you know, Bifrost and RGO, they are strong teams in their own, you know, areas. No matter how you look at this, LDLC taking on Bifrost or RGO, anybody that says LDLC are probably going to lose that series, you'd probably think they're out of their mind.
I mean, yeah, we spoke to Doss yesterday after the series, and he was super confident with us. He said, I mean, he was very politically correct, but when the counter was like, you know, it doesn't matter who we face. We'll beat them anyways.
I loved how diplomatic he was at the beginning, and then at the end he summarized, he's like, yeah, both teams are strong. Bifrost, they can win. RGO, they can win. But in the end, we will win. And I think that's the right attitude they need to have. I mean, they beat all these amazing teams in the LFL. They beat a lot of star-studded rosters. And now at EU Masters, they seem unstoppable.
Yeah, with one LFL team already advancing, there are 2 more to go with defending and back-to-back champions, Carmine Corp. They're facing the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition tomorrow. And, I mean, talking about encounters with Carmine Corp, the KC Ultras were pretty dominant on your social media for the last few days.
But fortunately, it was positive. We got on quite well. But yeah, I think when you start looking at Carmine Corp, right, you talk about some of the stardom that you see in the LFL, it doesn't really get more starstruck than the Carmine Corp roster, right? Cabochard, Reckless, you know, even Seiken as well to a degree. So I think when you look at Carmine and you say, okay, use, what are they really going to do? It's very hard to play against, you know, the likes of a very strong side Cabo, and then Reckless just does Reckless things because he gets the farm and he doesn't really get contested. I think it's going to be a tough.
Yeah, and they had a rough LFL split. I mean, you got to be honest about that. But over the weeks coming into the Amazon European Masters, they look stronger and stronger. They're facing the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition from the DACH region, the only remaining Prime League seed. Prime League has it looks like they lost their flair over the years.
Yeah, it's been a rough tournament for Prime League. I mean, they lost their first and second seed, which is it's kind of rough. But I do think Unicorns of Love 6th edition, they looked strong in the play-ins. They faced LDLC already, the best the LFL has to offer technically. And I'm looking forward to that match because Reptile, who's been playing AD carry competitively since 2020, is facing off against Reckless. How can you not be hyped for that matchup?
Yeah, but that is for tomorrow. Tonight, it is all about Bifrost and RGO Rogue, starting with the Polish representative. Looking at this RGO Rogue, it feels like I look at the remains of what was Gamer Legion a few years ago. They're a bit of a wacky drafters, are mad scientists.
Yeah, definitely in a way. I think Rebel and Knight have brought that to this Go Rogue lineup, and funnily enough, they made it all the way to the finals on Game Legion against the Go Rogue with some of that style. And we've seen it already here, right, with the Rengar and with the Ivern together. It's definitely it's a weird way to play games, but they make it work, and I think that's the scary thing about them.
And I think what's also worth mentioning is the fact that the Ultra Liga, where RGO Rogue is from, they came in with 4 seeds in this tournament, and they're the sole representative left. Like, the hopes and dreams, as I already mentioned, they're the only ones that can bring it home. They've done it once, but can they do it twice?
It's tough to say. When you're looking at LDLC in the semis, if you make it past Bifrost, given how strong LDLC looked yesterday, it's hard for me to confidently come out and say, okay, yeah, they'll be able to contest them. I think, if they refine what they've been working on with some of these wackier drafts, then maybe they can catch LDLC off guard, but they are just so disciplined, the LFL side, that I think it would have to be a 5-game series. It would have to be a 3-2. I wouldn't see it going any other way if they were to get there.
Yeah, and it's crazy to talk about these players because, RGO Rogue, they have won Amazon European Masters once, and they did it against their mid and jungle when they were back on Gamer Legion. Rebel and Knight now joining the forces. If you can't beat them, join them.
And the thing is that it goes even further because they were in the same group and they ended up with that tie situation where they made it out. And I think it was Movistar Riders back then that didn't make it out. And then they meet each other again in the finals. I do think that RGO Rogue did a very good job at integrating these two players because if you look at the drafts that they have played, even domestically in the Ultra Liga, once they came into playoffs, suddenly they had new draft plans. And that was a weapon because they executed them well. And then you see a player like Lucker, who has been heralded to be a very high potential carry that can pop off at the right moments. Suddenly he's playing Xerath bot lane with a Leona next to him, and it looks amazing. It looked so scary. So that's actually scary for Bifrost to go up against if they're able to pull off those drafts. Simnivak on a Tryndamere top, suddenly you have a Xerath bot, and what are you going to do? Because you have Knight in the mid lane facilitating this plays.
Yeah, because it looks strange. I mean, from the first up, but there is a thought process behind it, Jamada.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, in the case of the draft that we have behind us, for example, relatively limited engage. You pick a poke champion, you have your own means of engage, you have your own means of disengage as well. It's very hard to play around. In the case of this draft,
this is,
Yeah, so obviously this didn't end up working out as well for them in-game in terms of results. But I mean, the theory was still there. We saw it earlier on in that day as well. Rengar Ivern, Rengar sort of soft reworked, kind of unexplored, I feel, by many teams still. And obviously, Moonstone, currently in this iteration, it's a bit broken, it's a bit strong. And especially when you pair that with Ivern, and obviously the Bush combination of Rengar, it's hard to lock that kind of thing down. Vitality, I think, drafted very well around it in that instance, but it's about being able to, on the fly, look at weird drafts like Rengar, Ivern in the same rotation and say, how do we want to play around this?
Yeah, and we have to ask the question, how is Bifrost going to react to this? Because looking at how Bifrost is being positioned against all other teams, even in the NLC, they were considered to be the underdogs, right? And now they're getting to play against a team that's going to most likely surprise them with some off-meta picks. I kind of wonder how Bifrost is going to match up against them.
I think we need to be honest. And if Bifrost ever was an underdog this season, which they really were, they're not anymore. Like the dog learned a lot of new tricks. They played the play-ins. They played in the playoffs. They played really well. They went into the play-ins. They refined their style in such a way that it's solid and it keeps working every single game. But the question arises, like they used to play stuff like Senna and a tank in the bot lane. They were creative in their own regards, but not as creative as a Gamer Legion / RGO Rogue you face now. Can you beat that? Because they seem to need to get to that mid to late game, but are they going to be allowed to? Because what I like about RGO Rogue is they have clear ideas, they identify them, and then they execute on it. And that second part is very important because it's not just Rengar Ivern in one version. No, it can flex between multiple lanes, and that's hard to deal with in draft.
And I think if you want to attack them, you attack Bifrost in the early game because Bifrost support Duel said in an interview with us during group stage, we're not the strongest early game team, but we're good team fighters. And Jamala, that's something you wanted to talk us through about. One specific example of their key strength, that is team fighting.
Yes, exactly. Now, Bifrost, especially this tournament, they've not been the best early game team, as kind of highlighted by some of our stats here. Gold at 14, they're typically down around 500. They do get just about even, right, by the 20-minute mark, and then you can see post that 25-minute mark and the team fighting KDA is very, very strong. But as Jewel highlighted, they know they're not a particularly strong early game team. It's all about the later stages of the game where things really take hold. And I actually want to illustrate some of their team fighting prowess in this clip right here. Now, it's actually the Elder fight in around 45 seconds time that I want to highlight. But I want to use the Baron and the Baron takedown itself as a bit of a precursor and setup for what actually happens here to Bifrost. Because you'll see Bifrost, they have to steal this Baron. They're down 4,000 gold. They're down the soul. They don't manage to do it. Now, what you'll see is C-Boy is in a bit of a peculiar position. He has to escape. If he dies now in this situation, Elder is pretty much a foregone conclusion. They won't be able to do it. So what does C-Boy do? C-Boy ends up using his ultimate to escape. And then on top of that, the rest of Bifrost also end up using all their ultimates. Now, the reason why this is kind of a detriment to them, of course, now is because Bifrost no longer have all of their team fighting ultimates, whereas on the opposite side, though it seems to be bugged in the HUD, Aggressivo has Slicing Maelstrom, and of course, you'll see the Shockwave is also available for the likes of Zico. Now, Bifrost, because of the way that the fight happened beforehand, were able to rotate down here to the bottom river, and will be in front of the Elder first. And what I want to show you is Fury. Fury is the first piece of why this play ends up being so successful. You see, he slips in to the Fog of War here, and of course, everybody was just using their vision on the bottom side. Nobody has vision anymore they were using their vision on the top side. They no longer have vision on the bottom side. So Fury now slips into the bottom side of this fight, and you'll see, even though Erdote does his due diligence, spots him out, they're not actually in a position where they control him. They have no more vision, and they have no more tools to actually zone him backwards. So what do BDSA do? They decide to move away from the flank, and now this is where I want to start to talk about Shikari. Shikari actually acts as a bit of a wall here and ensures that nobody on BDSA can actually advance onto their backline. That's a bit of a janky, arrow, but you can see what I'm trying to get across. Now, the next big and only threat really left here, I'm trying to get it to play, is Aggressivo, and you'll see what C-Boy does, and this is C-Boy and Jewel in combination with each other. They drop the flag over the wall, and now Aggressivo isn't going to be able to use the Blast Cone because Jewel autos it, flashes away from the Orianna combo, and Aggressivo, if he wants to get into this fight now, has to flash over the wall, and BDSA now have to effectively try and contest through the choke. And look at Odie, the entire time he's been dropping turrets, kept hold of the Infernum, and look at all of the burst damage that comes through. Everybody in this team fight held a role top to bottom, and it's kind of moments like these why Bifrost are so threatening in teamfights, is because everybody knows what they have to do in any given moment.
And now the question is, like, can they show it today? They're against Agro. They got to throw him some curveballs. They might even try to snowball with the early game. I mean, that's basically what you want to do with the Ranger Ivan, for example. Do you think they can manage to do that against a Bifrost who is known to be, not that strong in their early game, but very strong in their team fighting, as Jamada just explained, Dino?
I think the thing with Ego Rogue is they either really successfully execute the composition in the early game, or the early game becomes a little bit out of control for them. I'm not convinced that their early game is that strong that I will say, okay, they take the early game and Bifrost is out of the game. I think Bifrost has the tools to stay in those games, but I do believe that if you can keep Bifrost from having moments like these, where they are set up with items, where they can fight you around objectives, that Bifrost is a team you can take down.
And I think if we talk about Bifrost, we definitely have to talk about Odie. I think we also have to talk about Lucker, because we're having a Polish clash in the bot lane, Dino, in this matchup between Bifrost and Agio Rogue.
The thing is, this clash happened a lot, and normally, if you would look at it, you have three big Polish AD carries at the moment. You have Odie, you have Lucker, and you still have Woolite, because that guy is still amazing. In the end, Lucker tends to get the fan favor a little bit, that he's a little bit stronger. But if you're going to look at the stats, you'll see why Odie is such an important part of Bifrost, definitely in the late game. He's basically almost their entire damage profile come mid to late game team fights.
And it's no secret they like to give a lot of resources to Odie on the sides of Bifrost.
I think it makes sense as well when you take into context their roster, right? Shikari has historically been a very weak side top laner, so playing low economy for Shikari is totally fine. He enjoys it, I'm sure. But yeah, like you say, Bifrost set up for him in that sense. They'll always try and, if they have heralds, they'll always try and give it to Odie. In the later stages of the game, they'll ensure that if Odie is short gold on item, they will just play towards it, and they'll wait until he gets those items. Then they'll actually look to fire on them. Even so in the Esker game, he was the focal point, and they actually managed to give him the platform to carry that game.
Now, I'm getting a sense that Bifrost is going to be the main character for today, but I have to ask a question here, Dino. Who do you expect to win, and with what score?
I mean, it's maybe a difficult decision, but I'm going to go for the Polska Guru angle. I think Ego Rogue, I just want to see creative drafts. I want to see a long series, but if it's a long series, if it goes to the 5 games, I think their wacky drafts might actually make it out, so they're winning 3-2.
Jamad, I'm going to give you the LLC cap for this one.
I can see 5 games happening. I can see it going towards Bifrost. My prediction will be 3-1 Bifrost, though. I think they will maybe drop one game and then that will probably be all that we'll see from Bifrost. I think they'll go the whole distance.
That sounds great. A little bit of a mixed prediction here, so that's good because I think it's going to be a very close one because both the NLC and the Ultraliga are fighting for survival at the Amazon European Masters in this quarterfinal series. One region will be eliminated and one of them will make it to the semifinals. It's all or nothing.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Amazon EU Masters. My name is Hipray and I am joined by Orcs and Gulborg. Gentlemen, we have made it to the quarterfinals and we have ourselves Bifrost versus a Go Rogue. This one I feel like might be a bit of a harder game to call. It seems like everyone I speak to seems to lean one way or the other. You know, it doesn't seem as definite as some of the other games we've got.
I think even in the interviews we saw yesterday, we were speaking a little bit with Das. He was talking about how even his prediction, he wasn't fully sure how this game would gonna go, just due to the wacky drafts that a Go Rogue will sometimes bring out. We've seen the Ivan as well and the Rengar to come through, but also just like Bifrost is a team that looks very good when they get to scale safely into the late game and they get to display that they have this team fight composition they pilot so well. But if they don't get to that stage, if they don't get ahead in the early game, or if they just fall so far behind, it just looks so dire for them. So I feel like a lot today will come down to the drafting aspect and how easy it will be for Bifrost and maybe how difficult it will be for Go Rogue.
Well, we are into Champ Select between these two teams and already the Rengar taken away by Bifrost. Don't want to be dealing with that Ivan Rengar.
Just all jungle bans all the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's another just big jungle focus. We were talking about this and we saw the desk as well talking about this as well. Is C-Boy and Rabble kind of the people that we got our eyes on, especially in the early phases of this game, right, Orcs?
Yeah, I think, honestly, for Bifrost, if they're going to have success in the early game, it comes from C-Boy. We're seeing those early pressure junglers banned out in the Volley Bear and the Jarvan. But a Go Rogue, they will play to get Rabble ahead, and he's such an instrumental piece, particularly on things like the Rengar, like the Lydia, that can really be monsters later. Interesting enough, you know, we see Bifrost ban 3 junglers, but the typical things we expect to see taken away, Zeri, Ahri, left open, and a Go Rogue snatch up that Ahri.
Yeah, Ahri has just been such a huge priority, and I also think that it's one of the champions that Fury just in general has looked the most comfortable on when they're able to get him on it. Another champion that we discussed a little bit when we were kind of theorizing how this draft would go today in terms of ease of execution would be like the Orns or the Vega as well, from the side of Fury, which pilots so well into the likes of Ahri. But as you were just mentioning, Zeri coming through for Odie, who's such a pivotal player for Bifrost as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen Zeri. There's been times when there's been drafts that have been taken to deal with the champion, but I feel like if she goes unchecked, you're going to have such a rough time. So a Go Rogue, you know, they've let Bifrost take the pick. I expect to see them draft a composition that can deal effectively with it. We very quickly see the Vex come out, something that does have a good lane matchup into the Ahri, right? Can also pressure effectively. And when it comes to team fights, a lot of power if you land that ultimate.
Also a bit of a Fury special as well. Domestically has played this champion a few times, whipped it out as a kind of a back pocket pick, and like you're saying, has a pretty decent matchup into this Ahri. I'm curious to see what a Go Rogue's answer is going to be, because AD carry-wise, there's a lot open. It's been mostly junglers banned away here so far. So attention will probably go towards a little bit towards that jungle pool, but also what they're going to look to put in that bot lane to match up with the Zeri. I like the Yuumi. It's a denial pick from the Zeri, and they could just get themselves, you know, a comfortable jungler left open here, or go towards that AD carry role and avoid Bifrost from banning it out.
I think I really wonder as well is how much priority Orn will have. Oh, never mind, he's already banned, so we go for the priority, right?
Not too much. I don't think we'll see either team pick it. That's my statement.
We were talking about it as well. It's just like such a stable as well in the European regional leagues as well, in terms of like how unpunished this champion really is. This is a Katarina Hava. Of course, you'll see most NLC teams do this to kind of poke fun at Trouble as well, since it's our main champion. And that's for Archerum. So there we have it as well. There's a few shoutouts coming through. I really wonder if you just want to decide to go for a stable pick here in terms of going versus the counter pick against Yuumi. If you can disrupt her when she's hovering onto the AD carries, super easy to catch her off guard. And when you go into the second ban phase with the availability of banning away some of the other AD carries to put Zeri in as a stable position as possible, this might be decent for Bifrost.
Yeah, I feel like because often we see Zeri as a lane that looks to scale up quite effectively, right? And I feel like that's a gambit a Go Rogue made by taking the Yuumi. They know the jungle pool's been thin, so Xin Zhao stands out, and it's a great sync, right? You can put Yuumi on Xin Zhao and he'd be very effective. But now Bifrost, they take the Leona. Like, we want to punish this lane. They do often look to play through bot, and they start off by banning the Lucian, something that can pair well and give a safety net to the Yuumi.
And I expect that we will see a few jungle bans to come through here. Having that R5
More
for
jungle
Shikari
bans?
as well, that is crazy. You know, we do have a graphic later as well for these guys' jungle pools champion, but already I can tell you that a lot of Rapple's jungle pool is being timed out, and a lot of C-Boys is as well. I think majority of the champions we've seen C-Boy players already been taken away. The only one missing might be the Hecarim or the Lee Sin. So it's going to be interesting to see what a Go Rogue kind of prioritizes in terms of what they see as threats on Bifrost.
I'm going to take away the Viego as the final pick here, but like you said, there is still that Lee Sin, there is still that Hecarim. You know, they're definitely further down the ladder in priority, but they are still champions we know C-Boy can comfortably play, so they are up and available. I'm curious to see if they just go for their jungler here and just make sure they give Shikari a comfortable lane top.
Jungler here and you leave counter pick for Shikari. Shikari has tend to go on a lot of stable picks for the team because they don't have to play too heavily towards him, but there have been situations where they've kind of given him a good matchup and he's been able to take something that can deal effectively with the side of a Go Rogue. And I actually like this. This is a flex, right? Yeah. We've seen a lot more Graves top, although not so much in recent patches. But Graves jungle is still something that we've seen at EU Masters.
But even if it is a flex, then this is very uncharacteristic of what we would usually see from C-Boy. He's way more of a facilitating jungler. And being a champion like Graves, you are quite often the one being facilitated by your teams. And for that to work, you need prior lanes. What a lane to lock in there.
Oh my word. We have the Twitch Yuumi in the bot lane. This is a horrible lane. They pop out of nowhere and you get final chaptered and ulted down. The GP getting picked up for Simivac. I really like that. It can play strong side, it can play weak side, it can kind of do whatever you want from that pick. Curious is now, what is Bifrost going to pick up? Is this Graves going into lane or is it going into jungle?
It's actually really funny. If Seri gets too fast and you ult this Twitch, then your auto attacks will actually never connect, just due to the fact that you know, they don't actually connect onto champions, they just fly straight forward.
That's where you got the final chapter to
lock them down.
I feel like, you know, we get the Scion from Shikari. I don't think that's too crazy to see from him. But it means C-Boy's on the Graves. Considering how I sort of see C-Boy jungle, which is very much play for the laners, this is a bit different for him. And ultimately, I feel like when you look at the composition for Go Rogue, they have Gangplank, right? They have Twitch, Yuumi. These are exceptional scaling champions, and they have a strong mid jungle. So, you know, we often see Bifrost as this team where if the early game doesn't go too well for C-Boy, which on a Graves, I don't expect him to be setting up his lanes too much, then they lean on the late. But if you go on late against this composition from a Go Rogue, you're going to have a rough time.
At the same time, though, you do have kind of what we would consider a stable, at least, which is like OD on the carry, OD on the guy that you need to rely on. You got a stable front line, you got someone to jump into, you can play Peel as well with the Vex, but all in all, I do agree in terms of the Go Rogue composition, if you just go even into the mid to late game, or like you get ahead in the early game, as we quite often see a Go Rogue do, then Bifrost, they might be in for a little treat and a little scare.
Okay, so what do Bifrost need to do? Because we've outlined, you know, we prefer what a Go Rogue have put together. What are the conditions here for Bifrost to set themselves up for success here?
I think you just have to abuse bot, right? It's a Yuumi, and typically in the 2v2 it's a little bit tricky because they have triple combat summoners, but if you can just get your mid laner to move down towards bot because you have a good lane matchup there, you get C-Boy to turn up and just dive them again and again and again. Kill Looker and Beansu 5 times each and the game will be in a good spot.
Well, we're on to the Rift for this best of 5 between Bifrost and a Go Rogue. This is the NLC taking on the Ultra Liga. NLC yesterday lost their first seed.
The only other team.
The only other team.
Yeah, so for NLC as a region, you know, it's a region that 2 times has made back-to-back finals. They've lost it, but either way, it's still something to be proud of. And obviously, the 2 seeds that you talked about coming in from the NLC both made it to quarters. Only Bifrost left, and but for a Go Rogue, for the pride of Ultra Liga, remember, this is a region that got 4 seeds coming into European Masters. And you only had 1 making it onto quarters. Yeah. There's a lot of pride on the line for a Go Rogue here, but also the memes on Twitter as well. If you lose this, like those 4 seeds, that is a lot of pressure.
It really is. We're actually seeing Bifrost just move around into this red side, seeing if they can spot out any wards, maybe find a cheeky steal of this red buff.
I like
looks like they're going to do it.
But there is a problem. They're going to use the stealth level 1. No. Some cheese for the rat.
Fury's going to have to be on it. He gets hit by the charm. He's going down. Fury, nothing he can do. Knight finds first blood.
And I feel like this is one of those things where, you know, you play against Twitch and solo queue, you should expect this, but for Knight to go the charm as well, oh, they're looking for more.
Oh, they are.
I wonder if C-Boy can stone them away for some valuable farm and XP down here. He's level 2 and he does spot them. Jewel, there's no ward on this bush.
Yeah, he's coming in. He's going to try and look for the snare, able to lock them down. C-Boy's closing up as well. Lucker just going to take a little bit of poke. The heal comes out from Beanzu to make sure that their bot lane does get away scot-free. And now it's actually Odie who's taking the worst end of this trade.
There we have it. First blood over again. to a Go Rogue, and they quite often get this. Either wacky drafts or a little creative playstyle is really interesting to see. But also what's super interesting to see is C-Boy in this position. I'm so used to seeing him just be a jungler that's on his own side of the jungle. You'll pretty much never see him counter jungle. He'll always try and facilitate his lane. This time around, he's on the Graves, and he have to be in a position like this.
Yeah, you have to pressure out Rabble early, and I like the fact they went for the invade. It means you can slow down the Xin Zhao, put him a little bit behind, and then, because that's the critical thing for me. If a Go Rogue with this strong mid jungle can spread that presence to the side lanes, I could really see things falling apart. But a good start. Rabble should know his red's already gone, but is going to be able to pick up his Krugs.
Yeah, and C-Boy on Gromp here, he's gone back into his own jungle, cleared it out. And Rabble, he didn't actually go into that red side. Meanwhile, Lucka taking a little bit of damage here from Bifrost bot lane.
But they do need to be a little bit careful. As you can see, C-Boy, he's pathing up towards top side. That's where the camps are still alive. On the side of Rabble, he's still down towards this bot side. And Bifrost, currently with their bot lane, is having a slow push coming in. They only have vision in the river. Let's see how this one plays out.
Yeah, Rabble, level 3, so they got that full combo up and available. But there is a real hard engage at least. And C-Boy's actually done Crab and he's now roaming down, going to clear this ward out. And Bifrost, they're feeling pretty comfortable to shove this wave in, although Rabble's still waiting in the wings in case anything does come out. I don't believe Odie's going to get that plate.
Yeah, and this is kind of a hark back to what we see from C-Boy in the group stage, right? Instead of going up towards his top side and clearing safely, oh, Fury.
That charm hits, he's slowed, he's running away, he's got the flash, able to flash out to safety, but Knight follows with his own flash! And Rabble finds the kill.
And I feel like here, right, Rabble has no camps on his side of the map. He needs pressure if he wants to be able to steal away camps from C-Boy. Because he gets that gank off, he goes from a situation that looked honestly dire with nothing for him to do to turn it around and get himself back in the game.
And it's just one of a Go Rogue's win condition as well. They just have better laners most of the times. The only time we saw them struggle in groups when they were playing against Vitality B and the laners were challenged. This time around, Fury, he's had an inconsistent split. He's not always been up to the top of the performance. And with a quick W from Knight here to kind of lower the ground and get in a position where they can move forward, find the charm after the slow, Fury's just dead. And he could have flashed out immediately.
Yeah, if you flash the W at the start, that play never happens, right? Xin Zhao not able to gap close really, but holds it for too long, and now 0-2-0. And in fairness, right, a lot of pressure's been put mid, but I feel like this is such a strong thing to do against Bifrost, is to put pressure on mid, and then you can use the advantage of having control off the mid lane to spread that into the side lanes, knowing Fury won't be able to match.
Yeah, and Rabble actually making his way up here. C-Boy's in the area as well, but Shikari's taking a lot of damage from Simnovac to start us off. Nice little dodge away as in comes C-Boy, gets the blind off. Shikari has to flash away. Nobody's going to go down in the top lane.
But luckily, Shikari does have that teleport. Wave is still in a little bit of a tricky position. If Rabble opted for staying around, but his camps are respawning. You can see it on the bot side of the map as well, with the Crocs just coming up as well in a bit. So just want to get back to the jungle, keep that rubber band XP going, make sure you don't fall behind, specifically when you're playing against the Graves. You don't want to leave your camps up for too long, or else he'll just start counter jungling and you'll fall further behind.
Honestly, I feel like for how the early start off, right, with the fact that we saw the invade come out from Bifrost, I think Rabble's navigated things well. He's in a pretty comfortable spot, right? They have an advantage in mid lane, and you can see him, he's looking to potentially punish on the bot side. C-Boy is in the vicinity. Won't be quite here yet if he wants to cover.
Oh, he's going to come from the lane instead here, Rabble. He's sweeped up the river. Lucka, he's in this.
Yeah, they're looking for Odie. Exhaust already goes down, instantly flashes out. C-Boy slowed down for now, but Rabble now getting jumped onto. A little bit more damage as he's going to launch in. Odie's still free-firing. Lucka finds the expunge, and it's a 1-for-1 trade.
It continues down here, but we talked about it this game. It is going to be very much about the bot side. Whoever snowballs their bot laners should be put in the beneficial position leading into this mid game.
Yeah, and I feel like they're not really going to be able to dive here, so Lucka should be able to pick up most of this, but Plate's getting hammered away at. Ultimately, C-Boy doing what he's done throughout the tournament. He makes sure that when his bot lane need to crash, he's there. When his bot lane want to gank, he is there, and they will be looking to get Odie ahead in this matchup.
So we just see it on the replay there once again. Rapple's already sweeped it out. Lucka coming in Invis, obviously making Yuumi invisible at the same time. And having that cleanse and the extra combat summoner spells for Yuumi, you can see just there how much freedom it actually gives to a Twitch. In the end, a little bit of an overextension from Rabble, but luckily traded over by Lucka, which kind of makes it worth it.
Yeah, in the extended trade, once you get your poison stacked up, enough time you can take down anyone, and obviously you're losing the extra resistances he has from his W before that expunge comes out.
The Seaboy is farming up a storm right now. Got a pretty large lead over Rabble on that front. Rabble has obviously been fairly proactive on the map, but ultimately Seaboy's being pretty active himself, able to kind of answer Rabble on some of these ganks, and now looking to pick up the Dragon for his team. This does leave Odie alone in lane, but they haven't got that level 6 yet, so Odie should be safe. And this is just a bit of a freebie for Bifrost.
Yeah, luckily for Odie, it is a slow push coming into him. He doesn't have to worry. My only worry in case of starting a fight like this is the Gangplank had finally got the Cannon Barrage. So if they wanted to check it from the side of a girl, you still had the ultimate from the Ahri. You had a slow push from bot side. There was a potential where you walked in there.
Yeah, I think a lot of power is afforded to a Go Rogue now. Oh, they're looking.
That was an amazing slow.
Yeah, just not able to quite catch out. And that's the thing, right? A Go Rogue, as you said, Cannon Barrage, Ariel, a lot of tools have become enabled for them. And Rabble's going to look to use the pressure that he has afforded from those to start this Rift Herald. And ultimately, you know, Bifrost got that first Dragon. That's nice. But if a Go Rogue are able to snowball in terms of gold, their composition is just going to have so much power as we go further on. Especially, I feel like the thing with this Twitch Yumi is there's going to be two states. Either you pop out and you're able to just absolutely one-shot anyone you see, or the enemy team can just obliterate you. And I feel like it's going to be very feast or famine for this bot lane.
Well, Odie feasting on plates as he gets his second one. And Lucka just being zoned away. Seaboy being in the wings. Just enough to kind of scare them off, and they're going to weaken the wave a little bit as well. So another wave should crash fairly quickly. Rabble, in the meanwhile, taking away these chickens. May look for a gank in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's just a very normal position from Rabble there. Pretty much ever since he goes out on a second clear, you'll find him in the opponent's jungle. And this time around, they know they don't have mid lane priorities, so Bifrost, they can't stick around for the bot lane for too long with Knight able to move down. Rabble on the other side, he does have that Herald, so even if you want to fight for objectives in terms of the plating, well, the tempo advantage is on the side of a Go Rogue.
And I think that's the big thing at this point. Seaboy has to be really cautious about where he shows, because if you show on the map, it just gives a signal to a Go Rogue that they can slam that Herald down the opposite side and they can look to trade up. So I think Seaboy has to be a little bit cautious anytime he starts to overstep. He is looking for Knight here. If the ult connects.
Oh, they got him. They're going to jump in the fears there. Knight tries to jump away, is able to escape. Has to burn the Spirit Rush, though.
That's one of the broken things about Ahri, right? That ult means so hard to pick you. If they can't burst you in that CC chain at the start, you get out, and yeah, you know, it's a trade of ultimates in that situation, but I think Knight's happy with that.
Yeah, for sure, but it's also now a matter in terms of how the supports start moving around the map. With Knight no longer having that extra mobility, you can come into a position where you have a timer to try and burn that flash instead, but seems like they want to go and reset timer instead. You can see it, Seaboy just went back, picked up an Umbral Glaive as well, just to make sure that the vision control is just going to be so pivotal for them.
Yeah, I mean, really powerful item just in terms of maintaining an advantage there. You do see Lucka looking, but Fury, I think he's a bit too close to the turret. Unless they land a charm.
Oh, they do force him to flash there. The final chapter comes out, but Fury definitely smelt a rat there.
And it's just so annoying to play against, right? Because they're not even in a position to punish on the other side of the map. Yes, they'll push in this cannon, but at worst, I mean, they'll probably lose 2 CS. Yes, you can see the cannon will tank it up. Rabble is around the vicinity as well, so Odie, yes, he does get a little bit of a plate, but Flash has been forced from Fury in the mid lane.
Yeah, and the thing is, yes, it's more of an advantage bot lane, but I do respect the play. That's what you have to kind of do with the Twitch Yumi. You're trying to spread that presence around, use the stealth to capture the lanes, but we're going to have to take stock of this bot lane. It's 3 plates in favor of Bifrost bot lane, and if you look at the CS, it's a 30 CS lead as well. Right, you can see the gold 700 in favor of Bifrost, and we've said so many times, time and time again, getting Odie ahead is their game plan.
Rabble was looking, but Odie able to skate over the wall to safety.
Just a little bit worried for Bifrost as well, because it seems like you need to be able to find some skirmishing around this Graves at some point to really make it into the mid game with a lead. But because mid lane has always been shoved in by Knight, they never really had the opportunity to do so. Even on the top side, it's kind of just a noodle with Shikari who's happy to scale to be a frontline. But so far, he's not going to help you if you start counter-jungling. And that's something that a Go Rogue is just punishing on so well. Now with mid lane priority again, Knight is hovering. They can just pop the Herald bot, and they should be able to get plates.
Yeah, I mean, they can answer the 3 plates, right? Get that money towards Lucka. He's going to be in a much more comfortable position. You can see it slammed in there. And yes, we still have the CS advantage in favor, but that's closed down that goal lead by a decent margin. And got to reiterate, Twitch Yumi, you know, they're going to be such a powerful duo when we get to the later stages of the game. The Gangplank is completely fine on the top side. They still have the Cannon Barrage, haven't used it yet, just there and available when it's necessary. I think a Go Rogue are just smooth sailing through this one.
Yeah, it just feels like both teams, you know, they're so willing to just scale. Bifrost, of course, for them, That has been their main win conditions in the wins that they have had throughout the groups and play-ins of the European Masters. They're kind of waiting for their opponent to make a mistake, and that's why they'll punish. But that's not always the best win condition to have when you're playing against a team like a Go Rogue who's just so punishing when they get a lead in the early game.
Which I think it's why it's so unique that we saw the Graves come out from the like C-Boy. Right, I didn't expect this from the end share. We saw a ton of jungle bans. Oh, got a fight.
Fury's getting jumped onto, but C-Boy's here as well. The cannon barrage comes down and an instant cleanse out from Lucka. Now we've got the Spirit Rush from Knight. He flashes in and C-Boy falls. More refreshes on Knight and a little bit more damage. Joel will not be going down.
And they're just so good at this. Like, how many times have we seen Locker make this move on the Twitch? Coming in with the Lost Chapter, or whatever the Yumi's ultimate is called on the Yumi there. It's just so easy for them to come in this, find someone who doesn't have the flash, pick them up with Knight coming up as well, and it just puts them ahead of the curve. They're able to pick up their first objective in the Drake here, and they got a lead now on Knight, who's going to be so scary whenever someone wants to come in and face check around these bushes. There's so much pick potential.
And I think particularly when you have a team who, as we said, like to lean later in the game, the fact that you have this combo that not only scales exceptionally well, but also is so good at facilitating picks. Whenever the game feels slow, they can just send Twitch, you can look in side lanes, you can look towards the mid lane in situations like this, and you can just pick someone off. And I mean, the execution was really solid here. They know they have the flash down for Fury. As soon as the ult comes out from the Uni and it starts to trigger, they know there's no way that Fury's going to get out of this one.
Yeah, it's so easy as well. Cannon barrage from the top side as well to make matters even worse, and it just makes it so difficult for the rest of Bifrost both to engage, but also to disengage afterwards with the slow just being there, being so annoying to play around.
And critically, one of the things with the Twitch is obviously when you ult, you get that exceptional range. There aren't too many long-range answers from the side of Bifrost, right? The Solar Flare can come down, that's instantly answered by the Cleanse. Outside of that, it's like you have to close the gap onto the Twitch before you're going to be able to shut him down and stop him from just decimating your team. And now, it's a 2,000 gold lead for a Go Rogue. The fact they secured that Dragon means they no longer have much of a threat on those. A Soul would be quite a bit later. And we eventually see OD finish off this tower here. But still, I feel like a Go Rogue are very comfortable in this spot.
They definitely are, but OD is that one shining light right now, I think, for the side of Bifrost. Big farm lead, obviously got a lot of plates in
I don't know if
lane.
it's a big shining light. It feels a little dim at the moment.
Yeah, okay, a flickering light.
Yeah,
let's say. That's probably the better way to word it. But, you know, building towards that Titanic Hydra as well, and, you know, with the lead, with the level lead as well, OD has the potential. We've seen OD do this before. Now, typically it's on something like a Jinx, but we are aware that OD kind of is typically the late game insurance for Bifrost.
Yeah, well, like, while in the early game we quite often say that they live and die by C-Boy, in the late game they live and die by OD. His carry performances is really what's led them to this stage as well. But as you said yourself, it's typically on the hyper carry champions like the Jinx, get a reset, take over the team fights, done.
Yeah, and I think the problem with the Zeri is the Zeri has good impact over the course of a longer fight, but against a Twitch, when it ults up, it's such a snappy, immediate impact. The Go Rogue, they're feeling confident. They head over to the Herald, and Bifrost just don't even seem interested in contesting. And the problem is they're not even getting anything on the other side, right? OD will push this wave in, but a Go Rogue have ample time to respond to this. This is going to be a 3-second Herald.
Oh, but they are jumping in with a Shadow Surge. They get the fear off. They get so much follow-up damage. Fury finds the kill. The Everfrost from Knight comes in onto Joel, and now C-Boy's trying to make the turnaround, trying to make the save for his team. Joel's able to get away, but Rabble can just summon the Rift Herald and take down this mid lane turret. C-Boy needs to be a little bit careful to ult to safety. C-Boy won't be able to stop the charge, but will at least deny the second charge.
I will say, Fury probably really enjoyed that one. That was some definite karma towards a Twitch, punishing him for overstepping without the cleanse that is just about to come up and be available.
Yeah, and the thing is, if they could get this turret as well for OD, that's 600 gold. They don't get it this time around, but it's set very low. And honestly, that was probably best case scenario for Bifrost in a world where everything was going wrong.
OD's overextended, though.
I mean, it's Zeri, just jump over a wall, right?
Oh, yeah. I forget. Sorry. How can I forget what this champion does?
You got to remember, Jake, this is a new champion, which means there is limited counterplay available.
They made Kane, and they were like, but what if we did this on an AD carry instead, right? And you could shoot your W at the same time.
What if we made it so you could just dash over the trade instead of having to actually, like, travel through it? Wow, wouldn't that be fantastic?
Sound tilted there, mate.
A little bit, a little bit.
On the top side instead. Let's see if they can make the rotation comes through here. It's late rotation from Yuumi. Luck is still not around the area either. TP's coming through.
That's probably enough for them here. They're quite happy with that. Duel's actually going to take a lot here. Has to flash away to safety. They're jumping in with the solar flare. Knight's trying to reposition, but Simnavac goes down. Lucker on the flank, going to slow them down with the waste for the moment, but there's a teleport coming in from Fury. He's got the Shadow Surge up in a moment, but it's not quite available. A Fear goes down on to Rabble to force him away. No more Spirit Rushes available to Knight. And Bifrost take their 1 kill and walk away happy.
Yeah, they're not too shabby about that one. They finally get the teleport through from Knight as well. Yes, it responded by Fury. And if he had that Shadow Surge when he came through, that may have been an even more beneficial fight from Bifrost. But this is what they do well. If they can't make the early game work for them, at least they'll find these few pickups to retain some gold in the game.
And critically, you're committing onto this play, onto the Gangplank, right? And Simnavac oversteps a little bit here. The reason this play is a positive one is because obviously you go for a play on the other side of the map, the Cannon Barrage comes in to assist, but then you just completely delete him off the play. And then look at, when I saw him here turning up, I'm like, where's the Yuumi, right? Why is the Twitch alone? And critically, he pops the ultimate, but they aren't able to lock down any targets. So Bifrost are able just to walk that one out.
And trading flash for flash between AD carry and top lane, not too bad.
Oh! Duel gets interrupted by Rabble. Cannon Barrage is on and Odie heavily chunked out. Looks like that's going to be the end of that little exchange, that skirmish around this dragon. Obviously, this is the second one for both teams if they can get their hands onto it.
Yeah, and Odie is low, so actually going to look for a reset here. But there's ults down from the side of Agoro, right? Rabble no ultimate, and Simnavac. But I think critically with Odie not here, they're just not even going to look to contest this dragon. Definitely going to mean Soul is so... Oh, nice looking.
C-Boy charmed up, locked down, and Knight.
A lot of counterplay. A lot of counterplay. I mean, if you dash the Everfrost, you're going to get charmed, right? You know, I feel like there's such limited options there, but I've got to praise Agoro here. Knight and Lucker doing so much work to consistently find these picks. The dragon's secured by them, so they're in a comfortable position.
Oh, no.
And they're going to take the spot tower pretty easily with no real response from the side of Bifrost as Knight is here to defend on the top side.
Response could come through on next minion wave, but as you said, there's just a good minion control, or minion clear rather, in Knight's kit as well. Has that Everfrost if he needs that to be held out. And all in all, just a good sequence of play from a Go Rogue. They're able to pick up a kill, they're able to pick up the Drake, and they picked up the turret. This is what we wanted to see from them like 5 minutes ago, but they slipped up a little, and because of that, Bifrost, they found moments to come in with their own counter-attack.
And I think that's something Bifrost has been exceptional in this tournament, is when it comes to making mistakes in the mid to late game, they are very good at punishing it. So as much as a Go Rogue, I think their comp is very comfortable with that, where they are. They're coming in with a gold lead into the mid game. I do still think if they make mistakes, if they start to slip up, that's where Bifrost will punish.
But some of these stats coming through from Rogue as well with the early game, if they had a lead going into the 15 minutes, their win rate was 94% in Group Stage European Masters.
Pretty high.
This is a team that makes and breaks it in the early game. And the times we saw them challenged in the early game against Vitality, that's where they fell off a little bit. So a Go Rogue in a lead going into the 20-minute mark, that's usually where we see them drive it home.
Interesting cannon barrage there, actually, just to clear out the wave, especially when Rabble was about. I think they were maybe a little worried. The Shadow Surge was thrown out by Fury, but
I mean,
did miss out.
Bifrost brought their members there to try and make a push in the mid lane tier 1. You know, if a Go Rogue don't have enough to respond, Cannon Barrage just really shuts them down. I think a big difference in this game is the fact that a Go Rogue still have their mid tier 1, right? Very difficult to push up aggressive vision when it is there as that structure. And so as a result, a Go Rogue can continue just deep push in mid here, and then you have to be so cautious for Bifrost as anywhere you overstep over the sort of the middle side of the map, you could easily just see Lucker show up and look to punish, as may happen here.
C-Boy dashes away early and will be A-OK. Is there like an item breakpoint, Orcs, where you feel this game just gets incredibly harder for Bifrost? Because right now they're able to kind of catch these waves. There's been a few good trades, a few bad trades, but from the discussion we had at the beginning of this game, we leant towards the later this goes, the more comfortable a Go Rogue feels. So is there like a break point?
I feel like I'd be really scared when both Gangplank and Twitch get like 3-4 items. That those points are just like really difficult to deal with. And the thing is, even if you do manage to shut down one of them, there's still multiple carries. You know, the fact that you take out GP, he's likely going to throw his Cannon Barrage down before he dies, but there's still a Twitch who's such a relevant threat.
And it's more like as well from the side of Bifrost, when do they feel comfortable? You take a look at the map state as it is currently. because the mid lane, as we already talked about before, is open like this, Agoro gets to push in, they can commit a play on the sidelines, they can back off, and if the vision control is not there for Bifrost, they just left to play reaction. That's how what we see them play all the time. Reaction, 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 waiting to that last moment where they can find the final punish that'll put them ahead into the game. But question is, can you rely on that win condition all the time as well? When do you start moving forward with your own pieces to be the aggressor?
I think the interesting thing as well is you look at Odie's items, Titanic Hydra, Triforce, this is typically the moment on this build of Zeri where you go, okay, Zeri's online now, so this is probably the time you'd want them to fight, but Bifrost don't typically fight at this point. They like to wait a little longer. They like to wait until Odie's even stronger.
They'll punish. If mistakes are made by the opposite side, they'll punish, and I'm certain they're going to contest this next Dragon in a minute and a half. Both teams already looking to establish control of the area, and Bifrost are making the first move. They know if they have vision control of the area, especially with the Umbral Glaive from the Graves helping them clear out wards, it will really favor them on this. So a good first step to have control of the Dragon area, and we have to see if Agoro are going to be able to contest this.
Well, we'll keep our eyes. The vision so far hasn't really been taken hold of entirely by either team. A minute until that Dragon spawns up, so we'll see when Bifrost starts to really get more control in that area.
It's just a fight over this control HUD, right? Look at once it's dead so you can play the game.
There's another one behind him. You see Odie actually just shifts back as Jewel flashes in. Solar Flare goes wide. They get the Shadow Surge. They get the Fear. The Cannon Barrage is big though. Lucka behind a double kill. And now Shikari, he's in for a water hurt. Has to ult away to safety. And C-Boy slowed down. The flash comes out. And he's just about able to avoid the charm as Rabble taking a lot of damage from Odie. But Odie not really capable of doing much more, but in they jump once again. The Odie has to pop his ultimate for the moment, and C-Boy will go down. Rabble can't jump over the wall yet, but he's going to flash in and knock him up. Odie falls as Rabble secures the second, and only Shikari stands.
It's a 4 versus 5 as well, and that's why you buy the Mercury Threats, kids. You saw how easy it was for Knight to flash out of the Leona, re-engage immediately, and they turned the tides of that fight. We were asking, when does Bifrost want to get aggressive? Getting aggressive in the middle of a lane there before the objective really spawns, that is just so desperate.
Oh, and they overcommit under tower. It's so easy for the CC to come out from a Go Rogue. You see Fury and Jewel just trapped there, and then it's so easy for a Go Rogue to look for the re-engage. And now we have a state of the game where they're over 5,000 gold up. They're going to secure their third Dragon as well. Things are looking dire for Bifrost.
They look scattered in that fight as well. It was one after the other. They jumped under the tower. It wasn't one cohesive unit. I mean, we'll see again here.
Yeah, I mean, Jewel clearly fishes for a window where he thinks he can lock down Knight, but critically doesn't have enough CC before he can follow up after the root. And then Fury tries to follow up, but Cleanse for Lucka means he can get out of dodge. And now you're left in a situation where Agoro can chase down an Ahri, Twitch, Yuumi. So good for finishing off stragglers.
And yeah, even like at the end of that fight, it's still not winning. You have the Yuumi, you have the Strike Breaker, and it just creates so much mobility. Rabble still has the ultimate to play around with as well. They're just there to be picked apart. They were never really in a position to find the proper fight. And once again, I think it goes back to a little bit of the draft. This is not usually what we see from Bifrost. It feels like a Go Rogue. They came in with the better preparation, at least for this first game and what they've been doing with this Twitch.
It's weird for them, and I think we've seen a lot of flexible drafts come in from a Go Rogue. They're very much a team who have brought out, you know, wackier picks, right? We saw the likes of the Ivan Rengar, we saw the Soraka as well coming out. And I think we have a situation here where the Twitch is not something we typically see in the meta, but it has worked so effectively here, especially when you know going to the Zeri, it's not the most high-pressure lane. You can afford to pick a scaling bot and excel.
It's feeling like this game is going to be very, very hard right now for Bifrost.
Definitely. I mean, 6k gold down, it's never a good situation. You know, they struggle to fight back. I mean...
He's taking it.
I mean...
Instant cleanse comes out. They look for the fear. Shikari's jumping in. Rabble's coming in time, though. It's not been Fury's game. Let's be real. It's been a rough one for him. Everfrost and Shikari flashes away, but Rabble chases, and Knight just jumps over one more time. There's nowhere for him to go. Slowly but surely, Shikari will fall. And a teleport into the mid lane, so Odie can't even punish with a tower of himself.
But it also just feels like Fury never got to play this game. Level 1, he was ganked by the Twitch, already died there. Huge lead over to Knight, and when you give Knight a lead, he take it all the way, as you can just see in this game. Knight had his number, but let's be real, it was never a fair fight.
Oh, looking for more here.
Yeah, Jewel misses out on the Zenith Blade and will fall to the expunge from Lucka.
It just feels like Go Rogue are able to clean up these fights so easily, pick off any member from Bifrost who's overextended, and there's limited counterplay. Bifrost clearly want to be grouped up looking for those team fights, but I feel like they lose the 5v5, they don't have as good pick. I just feel like they're running out of options here, and you know, I feel like coming out of the draft, I was scratching my head a little bit at the Graves from C-Boy. And sure, he went for the early invade, got the CS advantage, but he has not primarily been the carry. And I think in this game, you know, look at not so much this split, but previously for Go Rogue has been such an instrumental and successful AD carry for them, and you've just given him such a free time on this pick.
Yeah, and I feel like the composition really wasn't really built around him either. Like, okay, so the reason why I think we're talking like this as well now is that the game feels very Go Rogue dominated, and I think we're all assuming that they'll be able to pick it up once this next Drake comes, because that'll be the only time that they can actually fight back from inside of Bifrost. They need to find a fight that is favorable to them before the Soul. And I just think they still don't have the proper setup for that, even with Odie now on 3 items and an extended team fight. Still feels like Twitch will do better. Still feels like the Gangplank will do better.
Oh, it's just not going to be enough. Duel is able to survive for a long time, but Lucka will take him down. Rabble chasing forward. Knight has one more Spirit Rush. The Everfrost, the charm goes wide, but the barrels do connect, and Shikari slowed. Shikari can't move. Odie trying to find a little bit more damage to thread in, but Bifrost are crumbling in this first game.
They just can't even get on the significant threats, right? They can't get close to look at, more coming maybe.
Good ult by C-Boy to escape. Rabble's going to take a little bit of a tickle on the way out, but Odie barely scratching the surface of his health bar.
And once again, it's just fights of desperation as well from the side of Bifrost. Jewel just engaging out of nowhere to try and find this pick, because Bifrost right now, they are desperate. They know they're not going to win this one. They're getting outscaled now. They're already too far behind, and it's just really up to a Go Rogue to clean up house. I think right now for Bifrost, it's already back to the drawing board. This
You're thinking game 2. You're thinking of game 2.
Yeah, you are. This is game 2, because this composition right now, this way of playing right now, clearly not working. I think we need to see C-Boy back on a facilitator, something where he can help the lanes get ahead, because we see it right now. Go Rogue's laners, they're relentless. Like Knight this game, despite only having 3 kills, but doing absolutely amazing.
I mean, you can see here, Jules just steps up just like a smidgen too far, and at that point you know you're dead. And he goes for the engage because he knows there's no way out, but the end result is everyone on the side of a Go Rogue could easily just disengage from the CC from Leona, and then they start to push forwards. And Shikari here, he's slowed, he can't get out, but he also can't even get on anyone because of the long range being utilized. And now, fortunately, Bifrost to back up this dragon, but this is still going to be hard.
Yeah, this is soul here for a Go Rogue if they can get their hands on it. It's Bifrost, like you said, first in the area. They got lots of wards, lots of pink wards, crucially, to kind of spot out Lucka as he tries to sneak in. Yuumi on Rabble, Cannon Barrage is going to come out. And already Bifrost are kind of sent packing as the charm did go a little bit wide. The barrel not going to actually hit onto anybody yet. Dragon's low, Knight comes in with the Everfrost. They're going to miss out. The Shadow Surge is there, but already the fight's broken down. And Rabble is going to fall down. A shutdown for C-Boy picked up. The charm hits onto C-Boy as Odie jumps over the wrong wall. Fury jumps into the middle of everyone. Has to go golden. Odie's flash forward into Simnivac's pocket. The barrels are coming down, and now Lucka is unleashing the damage. It looks like Bifrost are just going to have to back away.
And I feel like that was it. That was the mistake from a Go Rogue that Bifrost would have loved to capitalize on. But I just feel like they didn't have the gas in the tank. They didn't have the goal difference too big. You saw that sort of moment. It's a Bifrost moment where when all hope seems lost, they can turn it around. But they weren't able to capitalize.
And that's the thing, right? One extra pick here. Maybe you can start on the Baron. Maybe that's your way back into the game, but you're just not finding it. And now with Soul for Go Rogue, now it's only the few towers left open of the map to pierce through. Should be pretty good for them. But Cannon Barrage initially in the fight, it just splits them up completely, and it's so difficult for a Go Rogue, or rather for Bifrost to come in there. You have to worry about the barrels, you have to worry about Knight with the CC chain, and while initially it's a good pickup, as you just said, Ox, there's just not enough gas in the tank.
Yeah, and the fact that we get the Xin Zhao down, Knight has no more charges, Odie starts to chase down, but the problem is, Lucka is still pretty much full health, still even has ult, and he can't really approach the Gangplank too easily because of the threat of the barrels.
Odie just not doing enough damage as well at this point. It feels like he is in a very, very rough position.
He's flame horizon, eh?
Yeah, but he still wasn't even doing that much damage, unfortunately.
The problem is, that's fantastic, but we also have a Gangplank who is hyper farmed.
Guys,
right?
stats matter a lot. Odie is winning this game.
That's that NLC cope that you love to see. Uh-oh.
Yeah, looking for Fury once again. He's going to jump in with the Shadow Surge, gets himself popped up for the moment. The cleanse comes down. Odie has popped the ultimate, but he hasn't got the follow-up damage. It's already 2 kills. Make it a third. A Go Rogue. Absolute cleanup in this first game versus Bifrost.
Yeah, it's terror at this point for the NLC, but it's great to see from Ultraliga. That last remaining seed is really popping off here. Desperation. Simnet flashes over the wall.
Yeah. I think he's still probably dead.
Yeah, he's going very low. Odie does do damage when it's just one person to shoot at. And the shutdown picked up for Odie.
Yeah, but you lose Baron. You're losing on that play as well. You know, it's something.
It's the best cross map you could make.
Yeah, they take the best scenario they could in that situation, but it's a 10k gold deficit. Baron and that Dragon Soul in pocket for a Go Rogue, and now I feel like they can just start to push down those structures. And if anyone oversteps, you know, I feel so bad for Fury this game. 1-7 now on the Vex. It feels like if he leaves the fountain, he's in a dangerous position.
Yeah, but remember, like, fair enough with the first kill where he died, but the second one, he for sure could have prevented. Like, I just felt like that this could have
How do you feel about the fourth, you know, 6 maybe?
The 6, 7, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. Highlight the heroes of a Go Rogue here. Knight, Rabble, and Locker specifically. The way they've been playing this game, absolutely phenomenal, and they continue to do so.
I mean, that's just a dead Leona. There's nothing to play-by-play there.
I
This
swear
tower
she's a
should
tank.
fall.
Normally.
I mean, yeah, but I think when you're this far down, Leona, it's understandable that Leona is squishy.
There's a GP and a Twitch with 4 items. There's an Ari also with 4 items with a 22 stack Medjais. There's too much damage on the enemy team.
Jumping onto Fury. Rabble actually has to pop the ultimate as the cannon barrage comes down. Shikari's slowed pretty much permanently, but is able to finally just about slither his way out as, oh my word, Locker! I didn't even see him firing off in the backline there. Shikari's gonna try with his zombie form to try and take out the minion wave, but it's not gonna be enough, and it just feels like this might be it for Bifrost. Rabble sliding in one more time as the final chance comes out. Fury will go down yet again in this game, and Odie, the only damage dealer remaining for Bifrost, is bopped up onto the fountain to try and recover a little bit of health. But inhibitors are crumbling to Rogue here as Odie goes down. Duel the only one standing. Tower number 1 goes down. Tower number 2 will be quick to follow. And the Nexus will fall 34 minutes into this game. Go Rogue take game number 1.
Took 34 minutes, but I feel like this game was done long before that. Bifrost just fell apart in that one. And they can bounce back. I think that's the critical thing.
And once again, what great versatility we see from a guy like Locker, right? You saw even the Seraph was banned out against him because he's been playing that in Ultraliga. He's been on the Soraka, Enchanters, AD carries, like you name it. This is a guy just last year as well. He was on everyone's radar this time around. It just feels like he gets better and better and better. And I don't even know where you would need to start to shut a Go Rogue down in draft because they're just so versatile.
I just feel like, you know, we have Red Side coming out from the side of Bifrost, and they spend all their bans on like these unique junglers we've seen from the side of a Go Rogue, and I'm like, I feel like they're just throwing away bans, right? I feel like there's higher priority picks. The Ari was definitely a problem there, and it really just bogged them down. I think get C-Boy a good early proactive jungler. That should be step 1.
Well, the Go Rogue strike first in the battle for survival versus the NLC. The Ultraliga get a break ahead in this first game. We'll see in a moment.
Systems are overloading. We can't risk another game.
We need to take a break and regroup.
We're starting to lose our mind. Captain, we cannot go back to Elo Hell. Last time it took us months to get out of it.
Initiate break protocol.
Hurry up! Yes! Yes! I did it! We did it! We did it!
Even the biggest